Yes, only 15 because normally
I was going to point out that we're not technically late at all, unless we're more than a day late because we were supposed to do this last night and didn't because you were busy.
Yeah, I was in Chicago.
See, you were in one of the worst places that humanity has managed to create in the United States.
You won't get any argument. No, I hate that place. The whole time I'm driving down to O'Hare, I'm like, no, I hate this fucking city. I hate this fucking city. You can't even say that city wasn't even built on anything good. There's some cities that were built on good things like rock and roll.
Like Detroit. Well, it didn't work out well for it.
Not in the long term, no.
We built this city on rock and roll. Well, unfortunately, you probably should have built it on something a little sturdier because it does not appear that worked out well long term.
Well, and then Eminem tried to rebuild it on rap, and we see how well that worked out.
Yeah, that also did not go well. Either way, Detroit imploded upon itself and rather resembles the world of Clockwork Orange, if I'm honest. Still,
there's still a number of places inside the city of Detroit where people are just giving away houses because they're like, no, we don't want anything to do with this.
I mean, I get that. I do. But hello, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion. We are a day late and several dollars short, but we are a day late. And that is because we were busy and we couldn't record until now, but we are only 2 weeks after our last one. So, hey, take what you can get, peasants. Okay. We dole out as we see fit. We are a fickle, benevolent overlord.
What he's saying is we have lives and occasionally they get in the way.
Yes, frequently they get in the way. Yeah. Especially like over summer, Christmas, whatever. Like we have lives the same as you. I realize that you don't want YouTubers to have lives. You want them to entirely revolve around whatever makes you happy and whatnot. But that isn't how the real world works. Unless somebody wants to just pay me to do this full time, in which case my life can absolutely simply revolve around making this content, and I would be very happy with that.
I would have no problem with that. I would have no problem doing it. Hell, even a daily show. If we could make enough, I would have no problem doing that.
I mean, it would be neat, but no, that'll probably never happen. A joke that I made to Nikki earlier tonight, about the sweet podcast money. But before we get into that, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast in its part or entirety by anyone and everyone except government or the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. We are also covered by Brandenburg v. Ohio from 1969, along with a number of other agreeing federal cases, which hold that inflammatory speech cannot be punished unless that speech is directed to or likely to incite imminent lawless action. As such, everything we say is purely for entertainment purposes, has always been and will always be so.
This is a Minecraft only channel, folks.
Yeah, that seems like a sound legal defense. Speaking of legal defense and podcast dollars and Nikki, so my friend Nikki earlier released a video this evening about the fact that she is named in a federal lawsuit, and it's hilarious. What is the federal lawsuit about, you might ask? Well, that federal lawsuit is regarding SIG and the P320. Specifically, SIG is kind of pissed off about the fact that a particular document exposing just how dangerous the P320 really is and its likelihood to have uninitiated discharges and truly accidental discharges is It's apparently a document that is pretty damning, and it has been public knowledge and in the public eye for quite some time. It was created by the United States Army. It has never been a classified document or a protected document in the eyes of the United States Army. In fact, legally, the Army, those particular documents are required to release to the public. And SIG is trying to sue and argue that
those
that document
documents
should not have been released. Yes,
yeah, it's protected because it's a national security interest.
For national security, the public document should be national security. And as an example of how it's already in the public domain, Nikki's channel was mentioned. That's Liberty Doll, if you're unfamiliar and you don't know Nikki. It is mentioned on her channel, and her video that has over 100,000 views is mentioned specifically in a federal lawsuit. I responded to her on her personal Facebook with like an applause thing, and she said, "Thank you so much. I've already gotten hang on. Let me read the comment to you so that you can appreciate what the comment was." She said, "Thank you. I already got a hate video from Yankee Marshall accusing me of doing it for the millions of YouTube dollars." I said, haha, yes, the sweet podcast cash. We'll mention it on our show tonight, which clearly we get rich on. LMFAO. Yes, that's why she got herself involved in a federal lawsuit that she is neither
to make all the
nor defendant in. Yes, so that is for the clout. That's yes. What it
because that's what somebody who cares about liberty really wants to get involved with, is a federal fucking lawsuit.
Now, I do also want to point out that a lot of people have been accusing Nikki of even just mentioning it because she's anti-gun, which is one of the funniest things I have ever heard. If you have never watched...
The vast majority of her fucking videos are Second Amendment news.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I'm pretty sure she's won Gundies for her pro-gun YouTube videos.
Yes, she has. She has been very, very popular for a very long time among gun YouTube. Yes. I've known Nikki like 10 or 12 years, something like that. I've known her. But she's awesome. She's extremely pro-gun. Her husband's extremely pro-gun. They are very, very active in the liberty movement. They're super fantastic. I'm
actually glad they didn't get more damage during that hurricane down there last year.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that anyone is trying to say that they're speaking out against SIG because they're anti-gun. Oh, is Brandon Herrera doing that because he's anti-gun?
Right. How about Jared from Guns and Gadgets?
Like, are you kidding me?
Or what is that? The Wyoming Gun Project, the guy who actually figured out why those things are going off uncommanded.
Or my buddy Ian.
Yeah, Ian.
Who runs Forgotten Weapons. Yeah, all these people are anti-gun. That's why they're speaking
absolutely
out against the SIG P320. It's because they just want everyone to think that guns are dangerous. No, it's because guns aren't dangerous, with the exception of guns that go off at random. And that gun is dangerous.
What gets me is there's so many. Even though that shooting at with the Air Force guy, that shooting, they figured out that no, that was somebody filing a false report because he shot the guy and then put it down on the table.
I mean, bravo for being pretty clever about that one.
I will give credit for that. I will give him credit for that.
I don't condone that behavior, but it is clever.
It is clever and mildly entertaining. But but I mean, when you think about it, it's like, okay, these guns are going off, and just because that one incident isn't indicative of that situation doesn't mean there's not a plethora of other videos out there and reports and lawsuits and all of that fun stuff that don't indicate that, hey, whoops.
Well, the FE, I'm going to butcher this. It's like FECMA or something like that. That is in question. In this is basically, it's a report that analyzed that and its liability, its reliability, and how often that it wanted to go off. And the the basic gist of it is that the military found that SIG P320s in their military designation, the M18, they like to just go off constantly. There's a QC problem. There's an inherent design flaw, and SIG may or may not have known about it. Now, where it gets interesting is Nikki brings up in her video, and I highly encourage you to check out Liberty Doll's channel and watch that video. It's only about 13 minutes long, so it's super, super cool.
Yeah, I was listening to it while I was fixing my tractor tonight, and I only caught about half of it because I was too busy cursing at the tractor.
Well, basically, the gist of it is that so the document that's already in the public that we all know about, we've all found. The one that SIG is trying to squash and is like blaming her partially for is hilarious because it's actually directed to for people to look it up by the VP of SIG himself. So that's funny.
Right.
But on top of that, so there's another one that apparently may potentially be dramatically more damning because SIG is being vastly more vicious about trying to keep this other one out of the public eye. We don't know much about it. We don't know what it says, but the fact that SIG is trying so hard to keep that one under wraps makes me go,
Me thinks where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, what are you so fucking worried about?
Well, if I had to guess, and obviously we're just speculating here, but if I had to guess, I'd say in that report that they're trying to keep under wraps, it details exactly what the malfunction is, which is probably falls right in line with what Wyoming Gun Project found.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know, they know what the problem is, but they don't know how to fix it. And
well, the thing is with the external safety, they were able to fix it, right? The external safety fixes that problem once you put that external safety on. But the issue is that SIG kept selling guns without the external safety after they knew that it was a problem, and SIG attempted to completely cover up that there was ever a problem with that gun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue. And what's hilarious about all of this is don't forget that all of the controversy over the SIG P320 had basically died down. Everyone had kind of let it go because they fixed it with that external safety right up until it ends today on Twitter.
As soon as they threw out that "it ends today" statement, it's like, why are you pouring gas on this fire? People are already starting to lose interest in this story. And then all of a sudden they throw that out there. It's like, we fixed it. It's like, now all you're doing is asking for people to go and find a problem.
Yeah, well, and bro, like I had forgotten that was an issue. Like I had let it go, and then I saw that, and I'm like, why are you trying to fucking gaslight everybody? We all know that this is a problem. We knew that it was a problem. It was demonstrated. It was big news. We all knew it. And then you guys were like, hey, we fixed it. Like, yeah, we maybe should have handled that a little better, but we fixed it. And everyone was like, oh, okay. And then moved on.
Yeah.
And then you had to try and gaslight people into pretending that it never actually existed.
Yeah, well, and then they issued the voluntary upgrade program for a problem that didn't exist.
Yeah, that didn't exist. A voluntary upgrade for a thing that definitely doesn't actually exist, but you should definitely upgrade to this thing so that doesn't exist. That thing that already didn't exist, like we're gonna just make it exist less.
You're right.
Than zero.
Well, and what's funny is with the external safety, that fixed the issue as long as you had the external safety on. But when you're talking about civilian and police production firearms, either they didn't have it, like you said, they continued to sell it without one, or in most cases, most of those departments and stuff, they weren't carrying it or using it with the external safety on in the first fucking place.
Yeah. Because who the hell leaves the safety on?
On a weapon where you might have to draw it at a moment's notice and use it, why would you have an external safety on that?
Yeah. Why would you bother? No one does that. No one does that. You know that, well, okay. I rescind. People who are 1911 fucking grandpas, okay, because only grandpas are into 1911s. Only fuds and grandpas are into 1911s. It's just the way that it is, okay? It's in 45 AARP. Yes, I'm calling you out. Yes, I'm judging you harshly.
Severely.
The guns, in fact, that are superior to that have been invented in the past 110 years, thanks. Nearly 115. However, yes, in the past entire century, the past 5 generations have managed to figure this out. So that being
Andrew,
said,
plastic guns can't be reliable. Don't you remember?
Oh, right. You mean the types of guns that literally every military has used for the past 50 years are definitely not reliable.
Right.
That, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that. Yep. Please remember that the most Honda Civic gun on the market, the Glock 19, Glock 17, have been around since 1982.
And are literally the most popular pistols in 9mm on the face of planet Earth. But the 1911, right, if carried properly, and this is where I was going, the 1911, if carried properly, should be round chambered, fully cocked, safety on. That is the proper way to carry a 1911 from the original manual of arms from more than 100 years ago, but still correct. That is the way you carry a 1911. Now, you will also notice that most of the carry bros with the 1911s also go, well, I don't carry around in the chamber because I drill and I know how to chamber around quickly. Yeah, not that quick. First,
not that quick.
Second of all,
hey, maybe they have.
According to your gun's own manufacturer, that isn't the way you're supposed to carry it.
And also, something that a lot of people forget or don't think about with those is, like you said, if you're going to rack around, there's no way in hell you're going to have enough time under stress to do that. Unless you're using a Spetsnaz holster because they always carry their sidearms unchambered, and it's a push-through holster.
Yeah, because it racks it as you draw.
Yes. That's what I'm saying is if you have one of those style of holsters, then okay, maybe I'll give you a little bit of credence.
If your holster is an open carry Tokarev holster, first of all, props to you, bro. You're not only do you have the balls to open carry, but you're open carrying a 75-year-old gun.
Well, even the modern firearms, they're not using Tokarevs, but they're using that same style of holster.
Yeah, it's still stupid.
I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm just saying that.
Boy, you know what I really hope when I'm like jumping around on tanks and Humvees, well, trucks in their case, whatever, and I'm like getting in and out of buildings and things, is that my gun will not only catch on a door frame, but will cock itself and leave my holster as it falls to the ground.
Yes.
That's really the ideal situation that you're looking for.
That is peak performance.
Yeah, that's the ideal. I want my gun to be in absolute ready to fire condition as it impacts random bricks in a war zone.
Or clangs off the turret of the tank I'm sitting on, bounces off the side and ends up under the track, and then explodes from the compression.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Is I want a holster that can't actually positively retain my weapon. That's boy, that sounds genius. How could that go wrong? Yay, Russia! Because if there's one thing I've learned from Ukraine, it's that if there's a country I want to model my military after, it's Russia. It's going so well.
How do you botch the logistics when they're on your fucking border?
I was gonna say your own border. You can't provide equipment to people on your border.
Oh, and the fact that we're in 2025 and they're still using meat wall tactics. You know, chef's
my
kiss.
favorite. No, my favorite thing about the entire Ukraine war is absolutely the repainted Baofeng radios operating on public non-encrypted signals that are being touted as Russia's new hyper encrypted like radio network. That was money. Oh,
I'm convinced that the Russian military right now, for their special military operation, they're doing it just for the memes. They're killing millions of people just for the memes.
Nothing says mil-spec like a Baofeng. Actually, a Baofeng's far superior to military comms. They're at least reliable. They work. You want to know how comms are mil-spec? You know that comms are mil-spec when at least 10 people in the past 3 months have said, well, this thing's fucked, while it's really important that they work. That's mil-spec comms right there every single time.
That's just about mil-spec everything, isn't it? I mean, that I get offended when people call my weapons mil-spec because they're way better.
They're way better than mil-spec. Fuck you. Yeah, no. I mean, like comms, especially like military comms, are legendarily bad. Legendarily bad. Like carrier pigeons would be dramatically faster and more reliable than trying to use those piles of crap. Just flat out.
Wouldn't somebody had mentioned at one point that they were talking about using drone relay communications. So they'd have, like, you have your forward operators, you have your, forward operating, location, whether it's a FOB or just where your leadership's at, what have you. And then you have a relay drone in between the two to bounce that signal off in order to make them more reliable. It's like, but that's a weak point. It'd be really easy for somebody with a 12 gauge to go, ha!
I was going to say, oh, you mean so the people that routinely shoot down drones and aircraft with AK-47s, you're going to give them a target that's just going to loiter? Boy, that sounds like a genius idea. How could that go wrong?
Right.
Morons.
Well, that was something that was, if I remember correctly, it was proposed by Raytheon, was it? They wanted to use a small quadcopter as a relay point for comms. It's like, but why? Just make the comms work better. You don't need a relay station if you're doing it right.
Make them fucking reliable. Do you know how many civilian communication systems there are that work fine? Thousands that work reliably just fine all over the world, including in remote areas. You just are stupid.
They keep spending all this money on their new toys. They can't do anything for the guys that are actually doing the hard work.
Dude, fucking Apple can encrypt messaging enough that the United States military had to demand a backdoor into their messaging systems in order to be able to read the messages. Okay. That is how complex Apple's encryption is. That's consumer available. So you cannot tell me that you cannot incorporate a quality encryption system onto military communications and keep them fucking working reliably.
But it would cost too much money, Andrew.
It costs so much money. I can buy an iPhone for $300.
Could you imagine being out in the field with the group and going, so I've got the guy in my sights. Am I clear to engage? Send.
Dude, I have an Adventure smartwatch, right? I have an Adventure smartwatch. I love my Adventure smartwatch. It's amazing. It's worth every penny. It was wildly expensive, and it is worth every fucking penny because of all the data I get off of it. But one of my favorite things about it is it can use up to 5 GPS SMS messages a month for free. So I can send and receive, right? Send and reply up to 5 times using the GPS satellites, which means that's in the event that I have absolutely no cell coverage.
Right.
Of any kind. All I need is a clear view of the entire southern hemisphere sky. Anywhere in the southern-ish sky. I say ish sky because it works fine here at my house, and I'm definitely not in the southern hemisphere.
So it's
anywhere.
As long as you can see the horizon to the south, you're probably okay.
Yes. And I can send a message to someone up to 130 characters long, and they can send one back to me. Back and forth up to 5 times, and I don't pay a dime for it. Now, granted, if I go over that, holy shit! But as long as I stay below that... I love it, right? I get altitude, I get barometer readings. No, but I've read the contract on it, and my God.
How much is it per message over 5?
They don't sell it per message. They sell it in a package. No, they sell it in a package. And the package is 25 messages. And 25 messages is $125.
Oh, that's enough to give a man a heart attack. Oh.
So you don't go over. I love my Adventure watch. Don't get me wrong. I have topographical maps on it. I have trail maps on it. I have altitude data. I have barometric data. All sorts of cool stuff that the watch feeds me, right? I have tons and tons and tons of information that I want on it. But God damn, is she expensive. Anyway, we should probably start hitting our articles here.
Well, before we go anywhere else, do we want to go any further in on the whole SIG P320 madness?
I don't think we need to. I think if you're interested, check out Niggy's video. That's the Liberty Doll on YouTube. If you are interested, I highly recommend you subscribe to her. She's awesome. She's a great follow. She's a great person. One of my personal friends, and I highly recommend that you check her out.
Who makes that watch?
I do not remember offhand. I remember it's called the T-Rex. I can tell you that. Or T-Rex 2, T-Rex 1000, something like that.
Let's see. T-Rex watch.
Super awesome watch. Love it.
Digital?
Yes. Well,
I assume.
I mean, it's a smart watch. but I don't freaking remember. It was some company I hadn't heard of. They only make a few models, and this was like their newest one, and it cost me like $400. And I got to buy it with my HSA. Hell yeah, because it's a fitness aid. So, pro tip for everybody out there. Yes, Amazfit. There we go. In the chat, Amazfit. That is who makes that. The satellite messaging thing is an app that I downloaded for it, and I would have to go grab my watch and look up what the app is, which I'm not going to do right now because I don't really care. But check it out; it's super cool.
Yeah, Amazfit actually has quite the array of price points.
Yes, yeah, I highly recommend though if you are somebody who goes outdoors a lot, like the T-Rex is freaking nice. As long as you get the right apps and the right watch face for it, it is an awesome smartwatch. Awesome smartwatch to have. Like, it's not super functional as a smartwatch, like connected to your phone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't do a lot of the like smart stuff connected to your phone, but for a watch that itself has tons and tons of features and does a lot of things that you want a watch to do in the event that you're taking it off-road and whatever else. The only one that I know of that I like better, that I would rather have and plan on getting eventually, is a Garmin. And those are going to run you a lot more money. The Garmin that I used to have, the smartwatch Garmin that I used to have, and then I would like again, cost you, it's like $1,200 or $1,300.
Was that all?
But
let me cut you a check. I want to be a congressman when I grow up.
And that's the consumer price. I can't even imagine what the United States military probably pays for them, but they are even better than this is. But yeah, this one does a good enough job. Good enough job. Big fan. Big fan. Highly recommend getting a breathable band for it. The band that comes with it is a silicone band, which is great for like cleaning easily, but it doesn't breathe, obviously. And I personally, yeah, I wind up like itching a lot and breaking out and all sorts of stuff from it. So like, I highly recommend a breathable band personally.
GPS, free maps. Yeah, they have the Amazfit BIP 6 smartwatch, 46 millimeter. Now, I don't have Andrew's budget when it comes to watches, so.
Dude, my budget came out of my HSA. Here's the best part about Amazfit, right? Here's the best part about Amazfit. I'm going to blow everybody's minds. There is a section of their website that you can request a letter from a doctor advising that this is good for your fitness and is therefore a piece of necessary medical equipment. And you can then use your FSA and HSA on it. And yes, as pointed out in our chat, they do offer a 10% discount for military healthcare and emergency services. Absolutely recommend them. I really do. I love my friggin' smartwatch. It doesn't do everything I would like it to do, but it's also not built for that. But yeah, the Amazfit T-Rex, especially their newest version of the T-Rex, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Love the thing. Super great. The Garmin's better. It is. But it is dramatically more expensive, and you can't use your HSA and FSA on it. So, dude, so the question in the chat about it is, does the battery life actually stack up to the claims? I charge my watch twice a month, maybe twice a month on average. And that's usually when it gets down to like 60% battery, I will charge my watch. I haven't had to use it exclusively for maps, so I don't know how that will affect battery life. I have used it for maps. I've actually used it. It integrates with Google Maps turn-by-turn directions almost obnoxiously if you're driving and you have also Android Auto like I do, which starts giving you the turn-by-turn directions on your heads-up display so that your phone, your heads-up display, and your wrists start giving you directions, which is just, it's too much. I get it. I understand. It's like having a car full of women. But that being said, I will say this thing, its battery life is incredible. How long I will just leave it sitting around. I'll wear it, whatever else. It's supposed to track your sleep. I don't use it to track my sleep because, like, whatever. Don't care. But if you do, like, you might see a little bit of a reduction in battery life. But I honestly, it's like twice a month, if that I charge it. And each time I put it on the charger, it's probably at 60% battery. So like it probably will last you a month between charges pretty easily. It's pretty impressive. I'm a big fan. I love it. I have a watch face that gives me a 5-day weather forecast, a current barometer reading, humidity reading, a couple other things on it that I really like on it. Is it stuff that I want? Because weather is important to me and what's coming is important to me. It's a really, really nice watch. I'm a really big fan. And it's got a bar on the side where you could hang it from like your neck if you wanted it to and put it on a lanyard. So that's also really cool. But yeah, big fan of it. It's built really, really well. I am wildly hard on electronics. I'll tell you right now, I tend to break things very, very badly. There's a reason why my vape
can fucking confirm.
Yeah. There's a reason why my vape looks like this. Okay. Where it's in camouflage. It's got all sorts of rubber protective stuff all over it and like knurling and all this stuff. There's a reason I had to get this. I am really hard on electronics. I tend to break them, especially if they're riding along with me on my various escapades. So, and I say that it's really, really good. Now, I did treat the screen when I got it with that like polymer stuff that's supposed to make your screen virtually unscratchable and everything, which I treat all my phones and everything with. But it's a damn good smartwatch. Really big fan of it. Really, really big fan. It is amazing. Super big fan. I've smacked it into things. I've done all sorts of things to it, and it hasn't let me down yet. So I love it. I do. I really do. It cost me a lot of money, but man, it was a nice purchase.
Well, now that we've gone through Andrew's almost 20-minute ad for unpaid advertisement.
I know. I wish they'd pay me. You know what I mean? Would you like an unpaid advertisement for Jameson Orange and why it's great? Because you can make it an old fashioned with just some bitters.
Sadly, I have gotten to the point now where I haven't had a drink all week, and I've also dropped 8.5-9 pounds in the past week. So I'm going to stick with that.
The funny thing is, when it comes so philosophically, the way that cocktails are supposed to work is that they must contain three items to be a cocktail. Right.
Okay.
So like a rum and Coke isn't considered a cocktail because it's just 2 items. My question is, an old fashioned contains 3 things. It contains citrus, bitters, whiskey. Okay. At minimum. Now, generally, it also contains some simple syrup to sweeten it up, but not necessary. My question is, if I use this, which technically has orange added to the whiskey, and then I add bitters, is that still a 3-item thing? Is that still a cocktail?
It's a mixed drink.
Or does that... Yeah, see, and that's the question, isn't it? Is it a mixed drink now? Have I turned an old fashioned into a mixed drink?
I would say
doesn't
yes.
count. Ice doesn't count. Ice does not count. Because you can make cocktails with and without ice. It will change the flavor, I assure you. Warm, cold. Same with whiskeys. You drink whiskeys warm or cold, they will actually change. And using a cube in a whiskey can dramatically change it over the course of even drinking it, because as that dilutes it, you can get different flavors. You ever really want to have fun? Take a whiskey, same whiskey, put it in a glass, same amount. Add a cube to one, add a splash of distilled water to one, add a splash of green tea to one, and add a little splash of ginger beer to the last one, or ginger ale, whichever you prefer, doesn't really matter, to the last one, and see how it tastes. And boy, do you get very, very, very different flavors out of that whiskey over the course of that. Super fun little experiment, just, But anyway, let's get into actual articles here. We've been here a long time, man. I'm glad I don't have that many articles tonight, because we've been here a long time.
I mean, let's be honest. Most people that tune into us, they don't really care about the articles. They care about the random tangents and rants we go off onto.
I mean, but they do care. Andrew, by the way, yes, please bring me some of that Mountain W. I need some. I need some bad. I was just talking about that actually tonight to my girlfriend. I was just talking about when I was living in North Carolina and purchased some things that were in some gallon water containers for very cheap.
Yeah,
and it's delicious.
Mountain water.
It's mountain water. It was delicious.
Fresh mountain
absolutely
water.
Delicious. I spent a very large amount of money with that man over a fairly short amount of time. Dude, he was making Applejack, traditional like 18th century Applejack. And God, it was good. Oh yeah, Albert's. I have run a couple of online one shots, and y'all thought you were gonna get roofied, and I kept trying to tell you they weren't getting roofied without straight up just going, "That's not part of this one shot." But okay. Let's get into some articles. Where do we want to start? I got a few, and I got a few important ones in here that I really want to talk about. Do we want to start with the pickles? Do we want to start with where do we want to go here? Posters?
Oh, let's see. Should we talk about tariffs?
The end of duty-free personal imports thanks to Donald Trump. So if you are over the age of 18, you probably remember that for a very, very long time, you could purchase things from websites that were based in China or sellers on Etsy, eBay, Amazon. They'd be in China, or they'd be in Taiwan, or they'd be in the Philippines, wherever, and you could buy things. And as long as it was a fairly small dollar amount worth of things that you were buying, they would show up, and all you paid was the price that was listed on the website, and you would get your stuff. Right? That is a thing. That's been a thing. That's been the way it is, because you're not a business. You're not importing this for resale. You're importing it for yourself, and you're purchasing it internationally. And so you could just buy it. Well, Donald Trump says no more. We're going to make America a place where everyone pays taxes. They're going to pay all of the taxes. They're going to give everything that they earn to the government, because this is freedom. This is freedom. Freedom might look a lot like communism. It might sound a lot like communism. It's really the greatest communism you've ever seen. It's going to be real communism this time.
It's going to be huge.
The global Soviet will be huge. Okay, so
thank you for your attention to this matter.
Yeah. U.S. shoppers ordering smaller goods from abroad are being met with waves of cancellation notices ahead of key trade rule changes ordered by the Trump administration. On Friday, the United States will end the nearly century-old de minimis exemption, which allowed items worth less than $800 to be shipped to the country duty-free, meaning without having to pay a single tariff. In advance of the official termination date for the exemption, many European nations, alongside Australia, India, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, and New Zealand, have announced temporary suspensions of all U.S.-bound shipments.
I'm sorry, but your Temu and Shein orders are going to be a little late.
U.S. e-commerce hubs have since posted notices warning customers about shipping disruptions. Last week, Etsy announced it would no longer process purchases for goods sent via Australia Post, Canada Post, and the United Kingdom's Every and Royal Mail services in anticipation of those firms shutting down U.S. deliveries. That's right. Are you ordering goods from the U.K.? Well, no more!
I'm actually glad that I got my my 410 reloading setup then, because I ordered it from a guy who 3D prints them in the UK.
You know what pisses me off about it? First of all, that's crazy. But you know what pisses me off about it? I was going to go. So my plan for Halloween this year is I'm going to go as a Scottish Highlander. Why? Because I have a chunk of my family that's from the Shetlands. Not exactly the Highlands, but close enough. And I'm going to go, and I wanted a great kilt and all of the various accoutrements.
Or lack thereof.
Well, no, okay, in one instance, but I wanted all of the other accoutrements, right? The problem is that I can choose now to order it from Pakistan or who knows, because otherwise everyone that sells it that's not in Pakistan is in the UK.
And they won't ship it to you. So why do you think that was insane that I ordered 410 reloading stuff from the UK?
Oh, it's just insane that anyone makes it in the UK, personally.
Well, the one place in the world that they're absolute shotgun snobs is the UK.
Yes, but
I mean,
there are other things that I know about the UK that I am shocked that person hasn't gone to prison.
Well, yeah. It's a modification. So if anybody knows what a Lee load-all looks like, it's a shotgun reloading system that's, I mean, they're common. They're about as common as, I don't know, a Chevy Cavalier was in the year 2000. Okay. And what it is you take the pieces off for 12 gauge or 20 gauge, and it reattaches these new components where those other ones were and just converts it to reload 410, because Lee doesn't make a 410 reloading setup. So this guy just made his own and said, I'll sell them on eBay.
For now. Given the complexities, legal requirements, and poor experiences, many postal providers will be suspending delivery options to the U.S., Etsy said. Online auction site eBay has likewise warned that sellers who rely on foreign postal services will have to find alternative shipping processors to get their products to U.S. customers. But private third-party carriers, which may already have tariff collection systems in place, can cost as much as 4 times the amount of sending an item via regular post, said Allison Layfield, Vice President of Product Development at ePost Global, a California-based logistics firm. Customers are going to be very shocked, she said. Administration officials have argued that anyone affected by the change should simply switch to U.S.-based suppliers. Yeah,
after the U.S.
fucking exists.
I was going to say, after the U.S. pushed everybody that produced all of this shit out of the country.
Yeah. But cases like that of record collector Ben Jay show why that can't always happen. Jay, a New York City resident who works in graphic design, recently stumbled upon an online German music store selling a rare modern recording of traditional Japanese music. An exhaustive search revealed it didn't exist elsewhere at all, he said. But a few days after making the purchase, he received an email from American Express saying the order would be refunded. An email to the online music store revealed the reason. Quote, they just said they were nervous about following the law, Jay said of the site recordsdale.de. It's annoying but understandable the way all that this is being implemented. There's so much uncertainty. While foreign postal systems have no problem making deliveries to the U.S., they don't have systems in place to process a tariff and pay into the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. In essence, the Trump administration is now asking foreign mail carriers to act as import tax collectors on behalf of the U.S. government, something they are not set up to do or maybe refusing to do, she said. Hashtag taxation is theft and so are tariffs.
Tariffs are just taxes. It's theft, period.
And roses are red, violets are blue, taxes are theft, tariffs are too.
And see, what drives me nuts about the Trump humpers as it pertains to this is they're like, it's going to bring back all the manufacturing back to the United States. It's going to we don't even know. Even if it did, the United, and then on top of that, they want to kick out all of the foreign workforce too. The U.S. is not producing enough offspring to staff all of these jobs.
Oh, it's not even that. It's not even that. It gets so much worse. It gets so much worse. You want to hear how it gets so much worse? Let me explain to you. Let me explain to you something very, very important. Very, very, very important when it comes to manufacturing in the United States. So here's the thing. In manufacturing, okay, in manufacturing, if you want to make a thing, there are things called tools and dies, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you use to manufacture things. This applies to plastic manufacturing. This applies to metal manufacturing. This applies to wood manufacturing. All possible materials you can manufacture with. In order to manufacture on an assembly line in a modern way, you need a tool and a die.
Yep.
Do you know how many die manufacturers there are in the United States that can manufacture dies to industrial tolerances at an industrial scale? Right now? That if I went to them, right? If I went to them and I said, I have this product, I want to make it, I need a die like this, make it so that I can make 50,000 units. Do you know how many companies there are that can do that?
Two.
You know the best part? Here's the best part. One of them knows how to do it because they have a really good working relationship with their Chinese counterpart and they have their Chinese people do it. We don't only not know how to make shit here. We don't know how to make the shit that makes shit here. And you think that charging the American consumer more money is going to magically fix that?
I find it hilarious that you bring that up because there was somebody, God, where the hell did I see that? It was 2 weeks ago. Who was saying that there was a tool and die manufacturer that was trying to become an upstart in the U.S. And what they were doing is they were using laser 3D modeling with CAD to 3D print using metal 3D printers the dies for the machines.
That could work, but 3D sintering is not going to withstand what you need.
No, it's not going to it's not going to manage the heavy workloads that are necessary to put out industrial level production.
What you would need to do is you would need to 3D scan the thing, go through an iterative process using 3D sintering within the metal in order to fine tune the dimensions. And once you have that fine tuned, at that point, you then scan that and have that CNC machined into actual billet.
Yeah. Because 3D sintering would be no different than using a cast die, and it's just not going to hold up.
It just doesn't hold up. You need a molecular structure that is just dramatically stronger, and it just that doesn't work. There's all sorts of fun things about manufacturing. I'm super autistic, so I know a lot about this shit, so I could go on and on and on and on and on about this, but do I have an education in it? Absolutely not. But I could go on and on and on about why this is a thing. We lost one of our viewers. But anyway, so I want to point out though, like, so here's the thing, right? Is the White House did not respond to a request for comment. Trump has claimed the elimination of the de minimis rule is necessary because it has helped facilitate the international drug trade, especially fentanyl. That is a nonsensical argument. That makes no sense at all. None.
Read that line again.
The White House did not respond to a request for comment. Trump has claimed the elimination of the de minimis rule is necessary because it helps facilitate the international drug trade, especially fentanyl.
I would like to understand how those two, because maybe I'm off base here, but the last time I checked, they're not paying tariffs on the drugs that they're importing illegally into the United States.
It's about money. None of this has anything to do with whether or not the packages are inspected by drug dogs or anything else. It's not like you go, oh, it's worth less than $800. You promised me on the outside of the label it's worth less than $800. Okay, on through the customs process. That isn't how this works.
Jesus,
that has never been how this works. I have ordered enormous amounts of things from foreign countries, okay? Enormous amounts of things from foreign countries because I prefer to buy things from the country that I know is the best at it. And very, very frequently, that is not the United States. In fact, very rarely is that the United States. The United States is the best at almost nothing.
The only thing I can think of that the U.S., I wouldn't say they're the best, but they've got to be fairly high up, is reliable firearms. And I say that only because Glock does produce firearms in the U.S. Smith & Wesson does make a reliable piece.
I'd still rather something from Switzerland or Belgium.
What, that effing company?
Yes.
Fuck those guys. They can eat shit and die.
No. Okay, well, that's Belgium. But I would rather something that's either Swiss.
I'll give you Swiss. I'll give you Swiss. But the Belgian, that FN company, after what I went through with my FN 510.
Oh, I know.
No,
I know.
They can eat a big, massive, giant bag of dicks.
Dude, have you ever had to deal with Samsung's warranty department?
Yeah, it was actually dirt simple.
Oh, it is not for me. I've had to deal with them for a couple of very large TVs, a couple of computers, all sorts of fun stuff. You do not want to deal with Samsung and their customer service.
Is that in your official capacity at your job?
Yes. The only people that are worse to deal with for warranty stuff is LG when it comes to electronics. LG somehow manages to be worse than Samsung, but Samsung will make you go into a murderous rage.
And see, the couple times I've had to deal with them, it wasn't in a commercial capacity. It was in a personal capacity. So I literally I called in. They're like, "Welcome to Samsung USA," and I talked to somebody from the United States, and like, "Oh yeah, we'll get you one shipped out right away." And I had it like 2 days later.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, for people who are administering that, you have no fucking idea. But anyway, so the United States basically doesn't know how to build anything. They're terrible at everything they build. Always. Always. Everything that they build is underbuilt and overpriced. That is the opinion of me as a foreigner of the United States. It's awful.
Oh man. The very next paragraph. In warehouses in northern Mexico, goods imported from China are repackaged into smaller parcels, each valued at less than $800, allowing them to enter the United States tariff-free under the de minimis rule, a practice known as the Tijuana two-step. Trade economist Annie O. Kruger wrote in a 2024 column.
Thank God that happens.
Right?
I want that to happen. Please continue to do that. I want that to happen. You know why? Because fuck the government. Taxes are theft. All right. And that's what that's about. It has nothing to do with drugs. It has nothing to do with smuggling drugs into the country at all. It never has. It never fucking will. It has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with companies from other countries trying to get stuff into the United States to customers here in the country who want this stuff.
Yeah.
To be able to buy it directly from them without a middleman so that it's as cheap as possible. Okay, because here's the thing, 90 something like that percent of the shit that you go buy in Walmart, that you go buy in Best Buy, that you go buy wherever, that is all produced in China. Okay, that's all built in China. All this random shit's built in China. You go to the Wisconsin Dells, you go to Branson, Missouri, you go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, or whatever little touristy area you go to, and you want to go buy shit there, guess what? Most of that's built in fucking China. Okay. That's made in China because China knows how to do shit. And you know when that happened? That happened in the 1960s while Kennedy was going, "Oh, I hate the communists." He was still sending all of these people right from the United States, from United States manufacturing, to go teach the Chinese how to manufacture things, how to make dyes and tools and all that other fun stuff. Right. So that happened. And now all that stuff is built in China. That's all built in China, and then it gets shipped over here, and it gets shipped over here bit by bit by bit in tiny little chunks, so it's worth less than $800, so no one has to pay any tariffs on it. And that's why they get to sell it for as cheap as it does. If you buy it when it gets the tariff, suddenly it's worth just as much as American goods. And why would I buy that? No, that looks like shit. I don't want that anymore, so I don't need to buy it. It's not that an American company producing the same crappy shit would somehow manage to make more money, because no one would simply buy it because it's only worth this less amount of money. And American companies need to pay way too much to their workers and need to provide way too much in benefits. And so they can't function if they charged you the correct amount, because you never buy it. This is why it all comes from China. Because you want everything for nothing, which you should as a consumer. That's a reasonable expectation. I want as much as possible for as little as possible. Reasonable.
Here you go. China accounted for more than half of all packages with de minimis exemptions, with more than 30% of China's low-cost shopping platforms such as Temu and Shein. The de minimis exemption for Chinese goods ended in May, and Temu and Shein both saw online traffic from U.S. shoppers plunge. But U.S. Customs data shows no noticeable impact yet on the volume of drugs being seized at the border.
Because no one was shipping drugs through the border in any of those packages. Trump is just saying shit, and you will all buy it. All these people will buy it. All the Trumpkins are going to buy it. That's the worst part. They're all going to buy it. They're all going to go, but it's about drugs and terrorism. What are shoes? Okay, that is the people. Okay, these are the people that they're going to buy it. They're going to absolutely buy this. They're going to buy the bullshit. They're not going to sit there and think about it. They're not going to ask any questions. They're going to go, well, that's what the president said. And well, I mean, he called Nancy Pelosi a bitch, so he must be trustworthy because I have an IQ of 12. And this is what's going to happen, right? All of these fucking Trump voters are going to just absolutely embrace this and not ask any questions about it. Not go, but wait, I've never suddenly had a baggie of fentanyl show up in my random Shein purchase.
Right.
I've never purchased what I thought was a car part and turned out to be a picture of a poster of a car part on a 4x6 note card. I've never had that happen. And then it also came with a fentanyl baggie.
Yeah. I akin the Trumpkins and their bullshit and them believing everything that the Orange Cheeto Man says to kind of the same thing that the anti-gunners do when they start talking about, we need to ban these weapons because these weapons are more dangerous than those weapons. It's like, do you hear yourself? Do you actually hear yourself right now? Do you honestly hear yourself right now? So you want to take weapons that would help everyday people protect themselves from the criminals who still don't care about laws.
Well, as we all know, if we ban things, the criminals don't have them because they're illegal. The criminals wouldn't want to break laws.
Right. Exactly. Just like criminals wouldn't want to perform tax evasion by, not paying their import duties on their fentanyl imports.
We wouldn't want to. I mean, we need to import illegal fentanyl, but we wouldn't want to do that illegally. It's okay. Let me explain something very important to you. Since fentanyl was brought up by the Trump administration specifically, right? I need to explain something that everyone needs to understand. Okay. Everyone in the United States needs to understand this. This is a fact. You can look it up. You can verify it. Be my fucking guest. Almost none of the fentanyl currently used on the market in the illegal drug world in the United States originated outside of the medical community in the United States.
I mean, that makes sense.
In fact, do you know where the majority of the fentanyl on the market came from? A single incident, an incident that occurred in Ferguson.
The majority of the fentanyl on the market right now came from the riots in Ferguson.
Yes. Because all of the drugstores, I want to call them chemists, but I remembered I'm in the United States now, so drugstores, pharmacies, whatever. Those. All of those got raided, just completely looted during the Ferguson riots. And the biggest thing that got taken was fentanyl medications. The majority of the fentanyl being used in the drug trade now happened to get into that drug trade during the riots in Ferguson. Riots that happened because of abuses, because of police, and then continued because the police were unwilling to intervene.
That checks out.
Almost all the fentanyl is American fentanyl. It's legal fentanyl that was already in the United States. And that is going to continue for more than a decade because of how potent fentanyl is.
Well, yeah, it doesn't take a lot to cut it into something else.
Yeah. So the vast majority, in fact, I would say 99.99999% of all fentanyl in the United States in illegal drugs is the result of the American drug industry. None of it is getting imported. Fentanyl doesn't get imported into the United States. Fentanyl is here. It gets stolen here and then used. It's so not a real thing that it boggles my mind. Have you ever read Animal Farm?
Yes.
You remember how Squealer was said that he could just declare that white was black and black was white and people would just believe it? This is what's happening, right? This is what's happening with the Trump administration. They're trying to just make a thing up, invent it, and just declare it. And the idiots who just are like, but Trump, yay, orange, man. Those people will just
the people that want to lick his cheek to get the Cheeto dust off him.
Yes. These people will simply accept this and spout this argument. They will just parrot this argument without any amount of objective thought or research or anything to understand that it is absolute transparent bullshit. It has never been correct. It will never be correct. This is not how fentanyl comes into the United States. But we've been ranting about this for a while. We're way through this episode here.
Do we want to rant a little more about government making no sense?
I want to talk about Pickles.
That's what I was just looking at.
Let's talk about Pickles and how they're clearly a clear and present danger to the security of the United States.
Manchester, New Hampshire. The Manchester City Health Department sent a cease and desist letter to a man who gives away homemade canned food like pickles for free, threatening consequences if he doesn't comply. He's giving away his own food.
Donated pickles are a clear and present danger to the United States.
Daniel Mowry says he's canned pickles, jams, tomatoes, and more for decades. He first started the hobby when he was 20 years old, learning the recipes from his grandmother in Pennsylvania, and he hasn't stopped since. We were brought up poor, so our family always canned everything that came out of the garden. Every year, Mowry says he creates about 70 jars worth of food, preparing it all from scratch. He gets requests from friends, family, and those who hear recommendations and sends it to them for free. All of the supplies, he says, he pays for out of pocket. He shows off what he's making on social media with pictures of the latest jars packed with his creations. Recently, someone offered to pay him cash for one of his items, which he accepted. Then he says the problem started.
You accepted cash directly in compensation for a good that you offered. You are not allowed to offer things in exchange for money in the land of the free.
And home of the tax slave.
Yeah.
Manchester Health Department sent Mowry a cease and desist letter last week saying he needs a permit to keep canning due to his distribution. The letter also says his kitchen needs a commercial license. If he doesn't stop what he's doing, the letter says he could face fines and a court summons. For Mowry, it raises questions about what constitutes official distribution and what's considered simple courtesy when preparing food for others. How about the church social service having a bake sale or anything like that? How about the schools when they have bake sales for the soccer team, he asked.
Okay, so I need to interject here and point out that we have covered on this show multiple times when church bake sales and community bake sales have been shut down by county health departments because they do not have the proper permits.
We also live in an era, now granted, in Wisconsin that's been changed, but in a lot of states, it's still illegal for a kid to sit out and do a lemonade stand.
It is technically illegal. We've also covered that, where the fact that Country Time Lemonade, if you are selling Country Time Lemonade at your lemonade stand and you get prosecuted, Country Time will pay your legal bills and your fine because they believe that kids should learn entrepreneurship and should get to do it. This is the thing, though, right? And this is why I wanted to cover this article, and this is why I want to make this a highlight of this episode, because this highlights something very, very important. This guy has simply given away everything up to this point. He's simply helped people. He's just given it away. He just likes doing it. He has fun doing it. He thinks it's great. It's super entertaining. It means that all this food that has grown, because he's clearly got a green thumb, in abundance, does not go to waste, and he's sharing willingly his abundance. The moment somebody goes, hey, I appreciate that, I would like to contribute to your future ability to continue to do that, all of a sudden the government goes, where's our fucking cut?
Pretty much. And I guarantee you that and damn difficult to prove it, but I can almost guarantee you that the person that offered him money for one of his creations was probably entrapping him.
Possibly, but it's also just as likely that they commented, just unfortunately socially, like on social media in the open, and said, hey, I'll give you money for it, man. I just really, really like that. Now, there are multiple businesses that I've sent messages to directly and privately and said, hey, I understand that you can't sell this to me normally, but if I were to just send you money and then you personally, the owner of the business, were to choose to send me things as a gift, does that work? And as long as I have simply donated money and they have simply sent me things as a gift, that's all legal. This is fucking retarded. Do you understand how insane this is? Like, do you hear how completely insane having to go through that process of going, I'm just giving you money. You're just happening to give me things. Like, this is what you need to do in order to engage in capitalism in the United States. And people wonder why we say the American dream is long, long, long dead.
It's long dead, and it was the very thing that the supposed founders of the country, when they came forward with the Constitution, they started killing it right there.
The Federalists really started the journey to killing the American dream. They absolutely did. The Federalists did. The people who did the Constitution of the United States, they're the ones who killed it. The anti-Federalists tried to save it, right, with the Bill of Rights. They tried.
Yep. But we've seen how well the Bill of Rights has held up over the last 250, almost 250 years.
Yeah, unfortunately, even the anti-Federalists were fucking spineless cowards.
Yeah. So, Manchester Alderman at Large Joseph Kelly Levasseur communicated with Maury when he received the letter and began to advocate on his behalf. He posted on social media to create a conversation on the topic, getting comments from all over the country supporting Maury and his passion. This is one of the issues that I believe that all people from all parties and all walks of life agree on, he said. It's pretty common sense that we should allow this to go on. The fact that he even says the term "we should allow this to go on" tells you just how dead the American dream is.
Yeah. Allow? No. I dare you to stop it, motherfucker.
Exactly. Come and stop me.
That should be our attitude. That should be the attitude. We are the land of the fucking free, right? The home of the brave, the land of the fucking free. We haven't acted like it in a very, very long fucking time. And it
not since the Battle of Athens.
That was a last gasp. And that was even after that had kind of stopped.
Yep.
We used to be a country where people would be like, no, you fucking stop me. I fucking dare you. We've seen moments, right? We've seen brief glimpses of what we used to be since then, right? Like we saw the Battle of Athens. It's a brief glimpse of what we used to be. We saw the Bundy Ranch standoff, and that was a brief glimpse.
The Malheur standoff.
To be. Yep, the Malheur wildlife standoff. Brief glimpse of what we used to be. Who we used to be as a people, as a country, what this country used to be, what it used to stand for.
What it used to mean to be an American.
Yeah. The reason why people used to go, oh, those are fucking Americans. Don't fuck with those people. We saw it every so often since 1913, but basically 1913 is where you see that die.
The Rockefeller education system,
not just the institution of the Prussian model for education, but also more importantly, everything that Woodrow Wilson did, right? Everything that Woodrow Wilson did. All of the stuff to get the U.S. into World War I and all of those things. That's what you see. That is the moment that you see all of the American dream really, truly start to die and start on that path where it's going to die. And you see it, and it just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating since then, right? 115 years. It just keeps happening. There was a point where America would never have stood for this shit, where Americans would have been like, I'm going to pick up a gun and remind you of the Second Amendment and what it's for. We used to be that country, and we're not anymore.
Yeah, minor tangent here. That's something that always cracks me up because you get people like Collier Noir. Everybody who watches any gun tubers knows who Collier Noir is. And one of the things he talks about at the end of almost every video is that is the reminder of what the Second Amendment is supposed to be. And that is in case the government becomes tyrannical. Look. Is this not tyranny? Do we have to devolve into what is happening in the UK and Ireland and everywhere in Europe right now in order for it to be considered tyranny?
Yeah,
this isn't tyranny.
This isn't tyranny. Tell me that if this was happening in another country, you wouldn't go, well, that's just another example of how they're not free. Then show me an example
how we are free. That's what I always ask people. Show me an example of where we are free.
Oh, but we're allowed to have the guns the government deigns
to allow us
undangerous enough that we can have them.
I mean, hell, it wasn't until the Heller decision that the individual right, that the Second Amendment even meant the individual right to keep and bear arms.
And that was super recent, motherfuckers.
2008?
Yeah. But no. It's the land of the free. Definitely keep saluting that flag and singing that Pledge of Allegiance.
All hail
Yay, America. I have no fucking allegiance to America. I have no fucking allegiance to this country. I have allegiance to principles. I have allegiance to the idea of freedom. I have allegiance to the idea that people should be free to live their lives as they see fit, so long as they hurt no one else. That is what my allegiance is to. The only superior entity that my knee bends to is the Lord God Almighty and his son, Jesus Christ, and there the list fucking ends.
Yes, sir.
You want to sit there and go, oh, America is the land of the fucking free. What is free about America at this point? There is nothing. Nothing that is free.
There is not a damn thing that you can do that isn't regulated, taxed, or banned.
Regulated, taxed, banned, going to be run through 5 fucking committees before it's banned. There's nothing you can do. And all I want, right? And I'm always looked down on by all these political parties because I want people to be left the fuck alone, because that is a radical thing, apparently, that I think the people should just be left the fuck alone to live their lives the way that they want to. I don't care. I don't care how you want to live your life. That is not my fucking business. I'm allowed to judge you for that. And I can have my own opinions, but I in no way think that you should be stopped from living your life in any way, even if I disagree with it, unless I think that you are hurting other people, in which case I think that I should personally be allowed to interfere with your lifestyle. But I'm also not allowed to do that.
No, because if you stand up and try to actually advocate for that kind of a thing, you are chided, you're derided, you're pushed out, because you're somebody who actually has principles that you'll stand on, like somebody else, like the only person that I've seen in Congress over the last 20 years that stood on principles, Thomas Massey. Even Rand Paul buckles every once in a while. And if you could get principled people who actually believe that, great. But it's never going to happen. They're never going to allow it to happen.
And it's why I always tell people, because I get all the time, right? All the time I get,
you got to vote to make a change you want.
No. I get, you should run for Congress. You should run for office. I'd vote for you. All the time from people. All the fucking time. Like daily. I get that from people. Here's the thing. I don't and won't, because I don't think it'll change anything. Because you can't change the system from the inside. The system will change you.
You know, the old saying goes, it's really easy to vote yourself into I think the saying actually goes, it's easy to vote yourself into socialism, but you have to shoot your way out.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is accurate.
It's accurate. It's accurate not just on the global scale, but in the U.S. too. Look at where we are.
Again, I just want to highlight this conversation happened because of Pickles. Pickles. Okay, this dude sold people Pickles. Pickles, a thing that is packaged in a fluid that is going to guarantee no bacteria, that is not unhealthy, that is not an issue, that is a thing that people have used for
it's vinegar
1,000 years or more. To actually more than 1,000 years, 2,000. We have pickles from before Christ. Okay, this is the thing that people have always used to preserve things, and we have 1,000-year-old pickles that are still edible. Okay, this is shit that people have always used to make things sanitary, and because he didn't ask the government's permission and then pay them blood money, he's clearly a clear and present danger to everyone.
Yeah, I was kind of skimming over this while Andrew was ranting, and the long story short is the alderman is going to be advocating hard at the next meeting for Maori in order to prevent him from getting that order again and facing fines and violations. Formally sent a letter to the city clerk. They asked the city to update the ordinances related to it. He made it clear he has no intentions to stop his canning hobby. He plans to be at the meeting when the matter will be discussed. This keeps me stress-free with everything going on, and it makes me happy. Manchester Health Department. Now, this is where it gets fucking hilarious, because remember, this is about Pickles. Manchester Health Department issued a statement to News 9 responding to an inquiry about the letter sent to Daniel, saying, quote, the City of Manchester Health Department receives approximately 100 to 150 food safety complaints from the public annually and investigates each one. We are governed by the Code of Ordinances approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. And when we receive complaints regarding the home production of foods for public distribution or sale, we follow our standard protocol to conduct investigations and verify the validity of each complaint. It's pickles. It's a sterile food. If you didn't like the pickles that you bought or you got from Daniel, okay, don't get them from him in the future. Don't threaten him with violence and death from the state, in this case the city, because you didn't like the pickles you received.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I think we've harped on this. I do have some bad news with happy music that I feel like we need to talk about. Right. Man, 26 and woman 42 die after a car they were believed to be having sex in fell hundreds of feet off a cliff.
You should, this is why if you're going to be parking, you should probably set your e-brake.
Use your fucking parking brake. This is, I cannot stress enough how much
a man and woman are dead after a car they were believed to be having sex in fell off a cliff. The pair, who have since been identified as 26-year-old Marcon de Silva Cardoso and 42-year-old Adriana Machado Ribeiro, were in Venda Nova. I'm not even going to try. In Brazil.
It's Venda Nova do Imigrante in Brazil.
On Monday, August 4th, when they parked near a scenic overlook. Apparent movement from an intimate moment in their vehicle caused it to drop hundreds of feet, CNN Brazil and The Sun reported, citing local authorities. They were headed toward the area where the ground was wet after leaving a party. Official Alberto Roque Perez told CNN Brazil, adding that the car fell down a hang gliding ramp. The vehicle was located later.
That's unfortunate, bro, because you don't have a sale. No. The vehicle was located later that morning by local caretaker. Military police told CNN Brazil the man and woman were found naked. Citing local media, The Sun reported that police believe the vehicle fell around 1 a.m. local time, and the man and woman were thrown roughly 328 feet. The pair's bodies were found at the base of a rock, while vehicle parts were scattered in the nearby vegetation. There were no signs of violence at the scene or on the bodies, and the car's handbrake was supposedly engaged, Perez said, according to The Sun, which added that investigators suspect the car's movements prompted it to teeter over the edge and fall. Residents reported hearing a loud noise between 1:30 a.m. and 2 a.m., but because it was dark and the vegetation was thick, no one saw anything at the time. Probably for the best, really, if you kind of think about it. I think the real question is, did they stop in the fall, or did they just keep going?
I mean, you're fucked either way, so.
I guess see what you did there. Yeah, I mean, like, I just wonder, like, if you're suddenly in free fall, do you go like, hey, this is our last moments, and doggy style and cowgirl are technically the same position now because we're in low gravity. So If you don't get that, like, think about it for a minute. In Zero Gravity, Doggy Style and Reverse Cowgirl are the same position.
Yes, they are. The case remains under investigation, and authorities who are waiting forensic reports told CNN in Brazil there's no initial evidence to suggest others were involved.
So basically, bitch goes to change up position, knocks the shifter into
and
neutral,
away they go.
And his parking brake was not good enough. The importance of maintenance of your parking brakes. Photos shared by CNN Brazil and the New York Post do show the vehicle destroyed after it plunged several hundred feet off the cliff. Quote, I saw the car's engine very far away and the car fell almost 450 feet from the accident. Witness Thiago Amarim said per the Post. It was a shocking scene. The car was destroyed. Ribeiro was a mother of two, while Cardoso was also a parent of a 4-year-old son. Oh, well, that says some things too.
You know what it doesn't say, and now I'm extremely curious. I'm curious if the two of them were they were at a party, right? I wonder if if they had spouses at home.
Were they married?
Yeah.
Were they married to each other? I mean, we assume they weren't married to each other.
But they had kids. And
that'd
you're
be
talking
a horrible
about
way.
Brazil.
Man, that'd be a horrible way for your spouse to learn that you were being unfaithful, wouldn't it?
Your husband is dead. We caught him where we found him dead after falling 300 plus feet off of a cliff, naked next to a dead naked woman. And yeah, we're pretty sure we know the cause of the accident.
We think we know what happened, and you can probably guess, but it's still under investigation. It's
well, accident or kids in back seats cause accidents. Accidents in back seats cause kids.
Yes, that is a thing. None of my kids have been conceived in back seats, I can honestly say. All three of my daughters were vaguely planned, so I do have that going for me, at least.
You know what? My first son was not planned, and ironically, my last son was also not planned. But my two daughters in between were.
Yeah, see, all of my kids were kind of planned, so hooray for me. I'm not with any of the mothers, but they were intentional, so that's the thing. Do we want to talk about the $27,500 on posters,
or do we want to talk about guns?
Well, I think we should talk about the posters, mostly because I gotta pee, and we should talk about this one. You can read this a little bit because it's great. It's a Reason.com article.
All right, it's a Reason article. If you need to go pee, you go pee. I'll read some of this. If you can hear it, great. If not, we'll figure it out. Congress spent at least $27,500 on poster displays in 2 months. Here are 4 ridiculous examples and 1 good one. It's a drop in the bucket compared to the national debt, but any wasteful government spending should be eliminated. Congress can't even debate a bill without wasting money. The first 2 months of this year, it spent at least $27,500 on, quote, printing charts, props, and posters, sticking them on easels, or making staff hold them up and giving speeches about them, end quote, according to Floor Charts, which has been archiving congressional charts and posters since 2012. That figure was obtained by eliminating the average cost of a chart at $50 and totaling the number of charts used by the House and Senate, 550, over the 2-month period. Over 2 months, they printed 550 charts for arguing back and forth over shit that they knew was going to get through anyway, but good God. No one cares. No one cares about your chart. Unless you're Rand Paul doing the annual Festivus grievance, no one cares about your chart. This number does not include all committee charts, but the analysis found that Republicans, quote, used about 20 more charts than Democrats, end quote. Floor Charts notes that this is napkin math because there's no line item in the office budgets for, quote, printed charts, props, and posters, end quote. The total is a mere drop in the bucket compared to the national debt, but any wasteful spending should be eliminated. And when you look at the posters the legislators come up with, you'll see that this spending could be very wasteful indeed. Here are 4 of the most ridiculous posters, and one that we have to admit is pretty good. Number 1.
So we can go through these a little bit, but fire Elon, save Elmo.
Hold on, I'm actually gonna do this the right way.
Oh, are you gonna show the posters? Are you really?
I am.
We got 20 minutes left. We're gonna show the posters. Okay, we're gonna show the posters.
So it should be showing up right now. There we go.
Okay. So we're gonna show the posters here.
So this one, fire Elon, save Elmo. I assume this is obviously in regards to them wanting to cut funding for PBS when Elon was involved with Doge.
Yeah, is a poster to argue against defunding PBS and NPR. Naturally, the congressman didn't question whether state-funded media is the best use of taxpayer dollars. In any case, evidently no one told Cesar that because it's Greg Cesar, Democrat from Texas, that Sesame Street moved to HBO a decade ago before hopping to Netflix this year. Meaning that in no conceivable way is Sesame Street funded by the public for more than 15 years.
Trump's tariff strategy. President Trump wants a foreign leader to do something. President Trump announces tariffs. Leftists claim tariffs won't work this time. Leader caves and Trump gets what he wants. That is a prop used by Senator Tommy Tuberville on the floor of the Senate arguing about Trump's tariffs.
Trump's on again, off again tariffs have not, in fact, strengthened and revitalized the economy. Rather, they've raised prices for consumers and businesses. Ford, for example, paid $800 million in tariff-related expenses during the second quarter of 2025, despite building most of its cars in America. Reports Reasons. Eric Boehm claims that tariffs have halted the flow of illicit drugs have proven to be equally dubious.
DEI in our military. At a January hearing, considering Pete Hegseth's nomination to be Defense Secretary, Senator Eric Schmidt, Republican, Missouri, used a board to criticize the Biden administration's use of diversity, equity, and inclusion practices in the U.S. military. Schmidt spoke in favor of Hegseth, who he says will restore a warrior ethos, quote, in stark contrast to the ethos we've seen the last 4, which is one of weakness and wokeness.
Schmidt accused the military of lowering standards to meet increasingly low recruitment. This would have been more compelling if Schmidt's board didn't misspell the word military. Perhaps this board was a subtle foreshadowing of Hegseth's tumultuous tenure at the helm of the Defense Department. Military Yes. Okay. So again, these people are spending like $2,500 every single one of these. Okay.
Oh no,
These
they're
are
they're
mostly
at
memes.
the average price is about $50 a poster, but they've made 550 of them over the course of 2 months.
Think about how much money we're talking about here.
2 months.
For this shit. If you had just a big TV screen and a laptop, you wouldn't need this, would ya?
Shit, if you were to do this with something as now, I'm an IT nerd, so you're gonna have to deal with that. If there's a product out there called a room kit from Cisco, a conference room kit, right? Using the WebEx application, if you are within a certain distance of a device that is equipped with one of these room kits, you don't even have to plug into it. Your computer will literally emit an ultrasonic frequency from the speakers, talk to the room kit, and broadcast and share your screen that way.
Right. But I just want to point out, I could buy, right? I could buy because look at the size of these posters. I could buy a 32-inch to 42-inch TV for a few $100. I could connect that through an HDMI to my existing
you could do it on a phone,
laptop, or to
you could
a
do it on a
phone.
phone.
I could do that on a phone with a TV from 2004 with a fucking Bluetooth dongle. Okay? I could do that and still produce the same content for dramatically cheaper. But they don't. Why? Why do they not? And this is why I wanted to bring this up. Why do they not do that? They don't do it because they have authorized themselves to spend public funds. Now, this one I want to really focus on. This is a dramatically poorly made meme of Elon Musk stealing an elderly woman's purse with Donald Trump in the background giving the thumbs up. Not only is it lazy, not only is it stupid, but it's nonsensical. And unfortunately, it's from a Democrat representative from Wisconsin.
Well, I mean, it is the Madison area,
Mark
so it is the Madison area, which is basically, communist light anyway. So I would expect this from Madison. But yeah, during a floor speech in February, Representative Mark Pocan, Democrat, Wisconsin, used this goofy graphic to denounce Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the Department of Government Efficiency. Pocan painted a bleak picture of Musk collecting $20 billion from the taxpayers with one hand while slashing funds for child care, health care, nutrition assistance, and public education with the other. But Doge, in fact, had only a small impact on the amount of money the government was spending. While Musk originally anticipated the agency would cut $2 trillion, Doge now says it has saved the taxpayers only $199 billion, and even that figure has been questioned by many.
No, Doge has saved the taxpayers zero. Here's the reality.
The big beautiful bill took care of that.
Here's the reality: is anything that Doge was potentially going to save taxpayers, assuming that they ever cut anything, which they were never going to do. All they did is cut in one place so that it could be increased in another.
Yep.
Taxpayer spending has been reduced in absolutely no appreciable way. None. There is no way, in no way has the big beautiful bill managed to cut any spending at all. The government budget isn't lower. The government deficit isn't lower. And the increase in the government debt has not stopped. Nothing has changed. The word of the day, as it always is lately on this show, is performative. This entire exercise by Trump and Musk was entirely, always performative. It was never about actually saving money. It has always been about making you think that they're doing something while they do absolutely nothing.
No, any claim that Trump or anybody else had ever made about, in Trump's case, draining the swamp, no, it's never going to happen. The only way you're going to get out of the swamp is you're going to have to fight your way out. There's no two ways about it. That's just the way it is. People have voted themselves into this mess. The only way out is brutality.
I don't, for legal reasons, want to say anything about how you get out of this, but rest assured there is a solution, and the French found it in the 1770s.
Let's just say it has to do with a Marie Antoinette haircut. All right, number 5, Washington.
This one I love. I love this one. Okay, I'll admit this poster is pretty good. It's a highly elaborate Washingtonopoly board offering a creative spin on the classic game Monopoly. In remarks delivered to the Senate floor, Senator Joni Ernst, who's a Republican from Iowa, played around to illustrate the government's expansive and expensive real estate portfolio. Ernst pointed out that the Agriculture Department's South Building, Washington, D.C., costs more than $11 million in upkeep. That is annual, in case anyone's confused, and needs nearly $2 million in repairs and is occupied only 22% of the time. Quote, Uncle Sam gets away with it because Washington plays with its own set of rules, and no matter how you roll the dice, Washingtonopoly is a losing game for taxpayers, said Ernst. Those taxpayers paid for Ernst's extravagant Washingtonopoly too, though. But at least this time the poster looks good and does actually make a solid point.
Agreed. The only other posters that I ever see, I'll turn that off now. The only other posters I ever see that I actually like to see are the ones where like Rand Paul is doing his annual government waste Festivus speech.
Yep.
I like that one. That one's fun.
Can I point out that like the post, even the images that I did when I did Weapons Wednesdays, and I went through like government waste and covered that shit, those images were even more effective than what they just did, right? Like, and cost nothing. They cost nothing. They're free. I just did them. These things are costing thousands and thousands and thousands of taxpayer dollars. 27 grand on posters to put an image on a piece of foam board. $27,000.
Now, as we're running up against it, we're at the hour 54 mark, basically. We have 3 more articles. We're not going to go through them. One is the 11th Circuit Court revives a constitutional challenge to the federal law that disarms medical marijuana patients. The highlights of that is the 11th Circuit has decided to take up a case where medical marijuana, because it is legal marijuana, does not the users of it are not beholden to the answer on that question on the 4473. The discussion is whether or not that question needs to be removed or not.
Yeah, if it's legal marijuana, you shouldn't be denying
another one
right to have guns.
I was hoping to have time for this one, but unfortunately not. Family farm wins historic case after feds violate Constitution and ruin his business. Essentially, over the course of the last, decade or better, if I remember correctly, this guy has been fighting against the Department of Labor because of a paperwork violation on a fourth-generation farm, and they pushed him into collapse where he had to sell the property. 4 generations of farming, and he had to sell it because of the bureaucratic hell he got put through. He ended up winning that case against the federal government. I think it's just so that the lawsuit can move forward.
Well, so it says, arriving on U.S. shores from Sicily in roughly 1900, the Marino family carved out a farming operation in Gloucester County, New Jersey, for the next 125 years. From a toehold in dirt to an expanse of 3,000 acres, 4 generations of Marinos grew vegetables outside Swedesboro at Sun Valley Orchards. No more, their farm is gone. Integrated from seed to sale at its peak and helmed by Joan Russell, Sun Valley became the largest produce farm in all of the state of New Jersey and one of the biggest on the East Coast, growing asparagus, cucumbers, broccoli, cabbage, bell peppers, eggplant, sweet corn, and more. At the heart of crop season, Sun Valley employed approximately 180 seasonal workers and was a hive of industry, with 15 to 20 tractor-trailer loads of produce per day exiting the facility bound for the Northeast, South, Midwest, and Canada. Department of Labor inspections were par for the course. DOL popped up on site in midsummer to examine payrolls, transport, living conditions, and more clipboard categories, usually wrapping up in less than a day. Quote, that was our experience with DOL inspections. Basically, they give us a few things to repair and we'd fix them immediately. As far as we treated our employees, our workers were invaluable. They busted their asses for us, and we thought the world of them. To think we'd later be accused of mistreating any of them was the furthest thing from the truth, but that's where the whole craziness was headed. In 2015, feeling the pressure of the building labor crisis in U.S. agriculture, the Marinos turned to the federal H-2A temporary agricultural worker program, filling over half their seasonal manpower needs with foreign nationals. Sun Valley's first H-2A workers arrived in early spring, and as the crop year marched on, DOL, as expected, popped in for an on-site inspection. However, instead of the typical lone official, DOL arrived with 3 inspectors, and rather than a day or less, the trio stayed at Sun Valley for roughly 4 days. Quote, I kept telling my brother, Russ, something feels off, something feels different, Joe recalls. It was like DOL knew something we didn't and had already made up their minds. His intuition was in the bullseye. It was the beginning of the end for Sun Valley. Silence speaks volumes. Typically, DOL provided findings upon completion of inspection, but into fall 2015, DOL did not send the Marinos a report or checklist of corrections. DOL let the entire 2015 season pass without indication of any concerns. In January 2016, DOL brass from Washington, D.C. arrived at Sun Valley's farm gate in New Jersey. Quote, they showed up in person, and a director from D.C. and 2 agents, end quote, Joe recalls. I'll never forget the scene. They came walking in with helos, small talk, and stupid jokes, as if they were conducting some kind of everyday, they're conducting some kind of everyday bureaucratic procedure. And for them, maybe it was. For me and my family, it was a life-altering moment. Seated in the Sun Valley farm office on opposite sides of a large desk, the tiny space separating 2 farmers and 3 federal bureaucrats was chasmic. Minutes beyond a handshaking greeting, the DC director dropped a bomb accusing Sun Valley of mistreating H2A workers. You owe $550,000 in back wages and civil penalty fines. I felt the ground spinning underneath me, Joe recounts. 1 minute they were smiling and asking how we were doing, and the next telling us the results of their inspection showed we had to pay them an incredible amount of money. For our entire lives, we worked to be the best farmers we could ever be and carry our farming family legacy. In an instant, I was numb, stunned, angry, and horrified, and shocked all wrapped together. It was 550 grand accusation. Literally, the federal government had sent agents on site to Marino's farm, demanding over $500,000, most of it for a single paperwork violation. Pay up or else. In a nutshell, the DOL claims Sun Valley hired its H2A workers without compensation and stole food money from their pockets.
So
basically, they misfiled.
Yeah, they misfiled some paperwork. It was probably a clerical error, and the DOL showed up and decided, no, we're going to rake you over the coals for it. And so I'm going to jump ahead to the section called Game Changer.
If you would like to read more of this, by the way, we do have the link always, as always, in the description. It is from agweb.com. Please check that out.
It's a very good read.
Full link. It is a very good read and a horrific read.
And then the last one that we had for tonight was the Federal Trade Commission warns big tech companies not to apply the Digital Services Act, which is from the EU, for all of these US-based companies.
Yeah, so this one I wanted to include this because I found this very, very interesting.
You know, Andrew, real quick. If you're good with it, looks like everybody's all packed up upstairs. So if you're good with it, we can actually just do this article. We'll go over and we'll do this article.
We should. I think we should talk about this because FTC Chairman Andrew Ferguson wrote a scathing letter to companies including Google, Meta, and Apple, telling them not to apply the DSA if it jeopardizes the freedom of Americans.
Trouble is brewing for the Digital Services Act, the landmark European law governing big tech platforms. On August 21, the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, sent a scathing letter to a number of tech giants, including Google, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple. The letter subject, the European Digital Services Act cannot be applied if it jeopardizes the freedom of expression and, above all, the safety of U.S. citizens. The opening of the letter, signed by FTC Chairman Andrew Ferguson, features a prominent reference to the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, namely the freedom of speech. Quote, online platforms have become central to public debate, and the pervasive online censorship in recent years has outraged the American people. Not only have Americans been censored and banned from platforms for expressing opinions and beliefs not shared by a small Silicon Valley elite, but the previous administration actively worked to encourage such censorship.
The Trump administration intends to reverse course, and it is in this direction that the attack on, quote, foreign powers, end quote, the European Union and in the United Kingdom, and in particular on the Digital Services Act and the Online Safety Act, begins. The letter also indirectly references the GDPR, the European regulation on the protection of personal data, whose measures are, quote, aimed at imposing censorship and weakening end-to-end encryption, end quote, with the result of a weakening of Americans' freedoms, according to the letter.
So, now, before we go any further, this is my take on this. I've read about this quite a bit. Like I said, I work in IT, right? What I'm seeing here is because the vast majority of social media, communications, all of that is handled by these tech giants that are massive international conglomerates. What's happening is the global elites, because they can't get anything done in the United States, are pushing it in the places where they can, places like Europe, the EU, you get the idea, where these companies regularly do business. So by passing these laws there, the thought is they can then force those changes back down the pike to the U.S. in kind of a backhanded way.
Yeah, remember that most countries, the vast majority, in fact, of countries in the world do not have the Constitution that the United States does. They do not have the protections that America does for its citizens. They don't go, I guarantee you the right to free press. I guarantee you the right to free expression. I guarantee you the right to bear arms. I guarantee you the right to a free trial. Things like this. None of these things exist in the majority of countries in the United States, and certainly very, very few of them ever exist in Europe.
Europe is kind of a cesspool for that. I mean, there's even laws on the books that I know for a fact in Germany where if you defame somebody in public, you can be charged and arrested and put in jail for up to a year.
Yeah, and so in the letter, the U.S. Antitrust Authority specifically asked the 13 companies it sent it to report, quote, how they intend to comply with the incorrect international regulatory requirements, end quote. Deadline for scheduling a meeting was set for August 28th, and recalled their, quote, obligations towards American consumers under Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act, which prohibits unfair or deceptive acts or practices, end quote. They could distort the market or compromise safety. And it is precisely on the security front, and especially on the adoption of end-to-end encryption, that the FTC calls big tech companies to order. Quote, companies that promise that their service is secure or encrypted, but fail to use end-to-end encryption where appropriate, may deceive consumers who reasonably expect this level of privacy, end quote. Furthermore, quotes, certain circumstances may require the use of end-to-end encryption, and failure to implement such measures may constitute an unfair practice, end quote. The weakening of encryption or other security measures to comply with laws or requests from a foreign government may therefore violate Section 5 of the FTC Act, the document states. Which is weird.
Yeah.
This is getting to be super surreal, man. What happens in the case of disputes and interference? Well, in a tweet on X, Ferguson wrote flatly that, quote, if companies censor Americans or weaken privacy and communication security at the request of a foreign power, I will not hesitate to enforce the law, end quote. In a global society like the one we live in, overlaps and interferences between different legal systems are natural. Just think of those in the opposite direction between European privacy legislation and the famous American Cloud Act. Guido Scorza, a member of the Italian Data Protection Authority, told Wired Scorza believes that in the event of significant discrepancies, quote, it will be up to the U.S. government and the European Commission to identify corrective measures capable of guaranteeing the sovereignty, including digital, of each country. Now, this is where the internet becomes a really fun monster. Because in order for Google to comply with the recent acts for Europe, it must in fact violate the Fourth Amendment of the United States.
First and fourth.
Yes. And therefore, it's not allowed to do that.
Now I'm gonna play a little bit of, freedom devil's advocate here. Google, Facebook, or Google, Meta, Apple, Microsoft, etc., could, as private entities, in theory, enforce that on their users, unless now we get into the unless the state, unfortunately, declares them as on the same level as public utilities. If the state declares them as public utilities, they can't do that.
Only if they can enforce it on their users if they modify their end user license agreement.
Right. They have to modify their TOS.
And as of right now, their service says that your communications are in fact private. They would have to reveal that your communications are not private, and based on several American laws, do so in an obvious and indisputable way.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have to make it very, very, very clear that anything you say here is going to be handed over to government. How long do you think that these platforms are going to last?
Let's be honest. In this day and age, they'll last. And the reason they'll last is because people are stupid. I don't want to change. I mean, think about how long, when Facebook first started taking off, how many people hung on to their MySpace pages for years after that?
I mean, I didn't. But
you didn't, but a ton of people did.
I joined fucking Facebook when you still had to have either a college or military email.
And see, I didn't join Facebook even though I had a military or a college email at that point in time. I didn't join Facebook until later because I just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I think if they had to make it super obvious, like, we're going to tell the government everything you say, and it could get you in trouble if you say it, even privately. I think that might affect things. But anyway, I wanted to bring that up because the US government itself is going, holy shit, does this violate the Constitution massively? This violates privacy. This violates free speech. You can't enforce this if you are an American company dealing with American consumers or a foreign company dealing with American consumers. You are not allowed to enforce this flat out. You're not allowed to enforce this because it would be a violation of a whole bunch of laws and the Constitution. And like, I just want to highlight that because that is what the European Union just went, yay, us. We're fighting hate speech.
And that's the whole thing about the First Amendment is it doesn't protect the speech you agree with, it protects the speech you don't agree with.
Exactly. The speech you agree with, the speech the government agrees with, the speech that everybody agrees with doesn't need protecting. Everyone already agrees with it. It's the shit that no one agrees with that deserves protecting, that needs to be protected. Whether you agree with it or not is not important. What's important is that you have a right to say it.
Yep. And that includes people who spout off about how, I'm not saying that I agree with their message by any stretch of the imagination, but people who spout off about how Hitler was right, all that stuff. Now, Hitler bad. But their right to say that is protected.
Yeah, if you don't, I mean, that's the bottom line. If you don't go, hey, you're a piece of shit for saying that like Hitler wasn't bad, but you deserve the right to say it. If you're not willing to do that, then you don't support free speech. And I think that's a super basic thing. Like, I can think that you're a fucking lunatic or you're a fucking piece of shit. You're a terrible fucking person who somebody should probably beat to a pulp, right? I can think that all day for what you say. That doesn't mean that I don't think you have a right to say it.
You have a right to say it. You don't have a right to be free of the consequences of what you say.
Exactly. I don't think the government has a right to stop you from saying the things that you want to say. The government. I don't think the government has a right to stop you. Now, I also believe in the freedom of association, which means that people who are truly private organizations, that does not include you, giant corporations, you fascist motherfuckers, that doesn't include you, but truly independent countries or countries,
Companies.
oh Jesus, companies do have the right to tell you no, that they will not associate with you, because a right to freedom of association is also a basic human right. I have a right to refuse to do business with anyone and everyone that I want to refuse to do business with at will. That is my right. How dare you demand to force me to do business with people I do not want to do business with?
It's that simple.
Human freedom is remarkably simple. If you actually support freedom, it is remarkably simple. It's so easy. It's so basic. But yeah, this is where shit gets interesting. I'm looking forward to watching how this all plays out with big tech and what government does as big tech seeks to be able to do business in Europe as Europe continues to become more and more fascist. But yeah, I think that's we're about at the end here.
Yeah, I think that sums her up nicely.
Thank you guys so much for watching us. Check out all of our sponsors. Definitely check out W Energy Drinks. Super awesome stuff. Dirt cheap. Use my code. Save yourself an enormous amount of money on buying the stuff from them. Check out Lions Not Sheep. Check out thebeardstruggle.com. Check out, of course, our very dear friend, absolutely amazing. I'm currently working with him on a couple of more patch designs. Dave over at poppinspatches.com. He makes cool hats. He makes cool patches. They are such high quality patches. They're absolutely awesome. He does custom stuff if anybody needs custom stuff. Yeah, I know. It was one time. Check him out. He is so cool and his stuff is amazing. And you definitely need to check out poppinspatches.com. Check out Coffee Brand Coffee. All of our other sponsors. We got so many of them. They give us effectively nothing, let's be honest, but they're cool and they occasionally support the channel a little bit sometimes. And yeah, if you guys support them, they'll support us. And I would really like you to support them so that maybe, you know, I can work little by little towards doing this full time and get to do a daily show. In the meantime, we love you guys. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate you listening to us rant and rave for the past couple of hours. You guys have a good couple of weeks. Enjoy the upcoming Halloween holiday. I will be looking forward to it very, very greatly. Also, fuck Labor Day, fuck unions, bunch of fucking communists, slay commies. Anyway, that is all I had to say. Chris, do you have anything, Dad?
Just remember to support your local single moms.
Of course. They are working through nursing school and they need your help.
Jade
Have
and
a good
Braden
evening.
And Hayden require it, man.
Yeah, exactly. And they're gonna be brilliant nurses, and they're working their way towards it and have been for the past 12 years. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you. Have a good evening. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace. Stupid